Iran is burning. Well, the streets are filled with anger, fear, and defiance here. What started as economic protest, it has now escalated into nationwide movement, and the government is responding with force. From shops to universities, they are everywhere. It all began with shopkeepers in Tehran, malls, and grand bazaars striking over the crashing rial. Prices, they are skyrocketing, imports are falling, daily lives have become unbearable for them. By Tuesday, the protests had spread like wildfire. Universities became key battleground, commercial districts, they turned into protest zones. Students, shopkeepers, and everyday citizens all joined in demanding change now. In fact, the authorities, they strike back. The crackdown has been really harsh. At least 11 protesters have been arrested near Tehran's Squash Square. 5 students detained at universities, 4 were later released. One student at Tehran's university was severely injured after being attacked by Masjid militia of the IRGC. In fact, videos circulating online show students chanting anti-government slogans, tearing down signs linked to the supreme leader, and confronting heavily armed security forces at the campus gate. Well, the scene, it was chaotic. In some places, security forces retreated as crowds surged forward. In others, tear gases, even live fires were used to disperse the demonstrators here. Heavy security deployment, they were reported in Tehran, Mashhad, and other cities as well, with checkpoints, patrol, and plain clothes officer, they were every single where. In fact, in a controversial move, the government announced public offices closure in 25 provinces, including Tehran, claiming that it was needed to save energy during a cold snap. But online weather data, it suggests temperatures were really normal, fueling suspicion about the real reason behind the closure here. In fact, their president, Masoud Pezeshkian, told the officials to engage in dialogue with protesters, calling their demand legitimate. But at the very same time, he met with selective trade officials, showing the government is trying to manage the crisis very, very carefully. But you know what? This is not just Tehran's story anymore. Verified reports show unrest in Kharaj, Isfahan, Shiraz, and other places as well, other cities. In fact, in Hamadan, footage shows security forces opening fire on the demonstrators. In fact, in Tehran and Malad, riot police, they used tear gases to break up the crowd. Iranian businesses, they have begun closing in solidarity, expanding the movement here. But you know what is driving this protest? The rial that has hit a record low against the US dollar. Imports have become extremely expensive, hurting the shopkeepers and ordinary citizens. Students are angry over limited opportunity and government repression here. Now, this is not economic frustration anymore. It's a growing social movement challenging decades of political control. So the bigger question is, what happens next? Well, the protesters, they are expected to continue into the 4th day. The streets of Iran remains tense. Citizens are daring to challenge authority, while the government is struggling to balance dialogue with heavy-handed crackdown. The world is changing and Iran stands at the critical crossroad here. Will these protesters be contained, or would they ignite a broader movement for the change?